I started a game development studio without any capital, risking everything, and it's been a year. I'm Kavindu, guys. Welcome to Black Mirage Studios. Now, in this video, I just want to tell you guys how we started Black Mirage Studios, what kind of games are we going to make, why we need to make those kind of games, and exactly where are we right now, so you guys can join our journey from today on. Now, to tell you guys why I wanted to make games, I want to take you back to so many years ago. Okay, I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, and I still remember playing Call of Duty 1 on my uncle's computer. It was one of those old white PCs. It was everywhere at that time. It was like late 2000s, and it was just a awesome experience. Enjoying the story, and the graphics was so good at that time. And now, I didn't had the computer for myself or a console. I really wanted the console, but Asian parents, uh, gaming is bad for kids. That was the whole background, and I really wanted the console though, but I didn't. So I used to sneak out and play. My neighbor, he had a PS2, and I remember playing Resident Evil 4 with him. That is also one of my biggest starting points for gaming, and that is also one of the most biggest inspirational and one of the foundations for Black Mirage Studios. And since then I have been gaming. I got my first lap after a few years, and I played so many other games like RPGs, racing games, Most Wanted, San Andreas, all those classics. And gaming has been a part of me ever since. And the most important thing is I always revisited those first games I ever played. I replayed Call of Duty 1 and Resident Evil 4 so many times, and you will realize that has been a biggest inspiration for our studio when I tell you about our first game. Now now we come a little bit closer. I was probably like 16, and I was doing my O levels, and I was playing Call of Duty 1 again. Yes, my first game, and I was replaying it again and again. Now, this is the same time I wanted to choose a career path as well, because like I said, I was 16. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I was trying everything. I was programming a little bit. I was doing graphic designing a little bit. So I had several ideas where I want to go, but I really wanted to do all of those things. But it's right. Well, you can't do programming while you're doing graphic designing, and you can do graphic designing when you're programming, right? So like I said, I was playing Call of Duty 1 again, and I just realized why I can't make a game like this, right? I mean, the Call of Duty 1 was made in, I think, 2004 or 2003, and it still feels really good. Could be nostalgia, but it still feels really good. So, technology is very improved right now. So, why can't I make a game? And I just realized gaming is like a combination of programming and graphic designing, right? So I wanted to do both of them. Gaming has a programming side, and it has a very creative side. So why can't I do game development? And that was the starting point of Black Mirage Studios. Now fast forward a few years, I was done with my A levels, and I knew I wasn't going to focus on A levels and choose the traditional path, I would say. I definitely knew I was going to do something that I like, and I wanted to start a business out of something I like. So I was thinking about a game studio, and cybersecurity was one of the options I was thinking. But I was really into game development by this time, because I was learning more and more. I was getting into Unreal. I couldn't run it with my lab, but I was trying to learn it. So I saw this event. It was like a gathering of gamers and game developers. Sri Lanka doesn't have many game developers. We'll come to that. I mean Sri Lanka, by the way. I think I did mention that. So I saw this event, and well, I was doing game development. I wanted to start a studio. So I wanted to like put an idea out there. So what I did was, so I had several game ideas, and I took one of those, a FPS horror game. Like I said, I loved Resident Evil, I loved Call of Duty, FPS games. So I knew my first game was going to be a FPS game, a first person shooter. So I got into Blender and I designed a concept trailer for this game I wanted to make, Mahasona, which we will talk about more. And I made a teaser and dropped it on that event. And that was exactly the point where I decided, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. The trailer was a banger. Okay, maybe not, but you guys be the judge of that. I really loved it. I really loved the concept. So I I knew this is what I wanted to do after seeing that trailer. I knew I wanted to make a game out of this. So from that point, oh boy, it has been a journey. Now, after this trailer, I faced my biggest issue. Sri Lanka does not have a game development industry. If you take countries like America, USA, Japan, China, or a European country, they all have a game development ecosystem, industry, investors, right? But Sri Lanka does not. Sri Lanka only have two games already released, and we only have very few game studios, and only fewer and only a small amount of them are actually working on games. It was very unpredictable. It is very unpredictable right now. So that was the biggest issue, and I had to choose between, am I going to do this or am I going to keep this as a part time? Because again, no industry, it is very unpredictable. I could fail very easily. But I have already decided I wanted to do this. So to solve this issue, I needed a plan, right? Because if I'm to reach an international publisher or investor, I need something more than a presentation or a trailer that was made in Blender instead of a game engine. So, came up with a plan, going to make a very polished and a very quality demo. It is going to be like the almost the same quality as the final game I want to make. So, I'm going to pitch that to international publishers. But it wasn't enough because there are thousands of games, right? Publishers get tens of thousands of games every day, demos every day, so it had to be unique. Now, like I said, game development is not a developed industry in Sri Lanka. So, what can we do about it? How can we change that to a strength? I'm going to make a game that is going to represent the Sri Lankan culture and the folklore, because Sri Lanka has a very rich culture. We have very awesome folk tales, right? So why can't I use that? Because again, like I said, Sri Lankan game development industry is not developed, so I can easily use those stories that hasn't been told. Because if you are a gamer watching, you know definitely we play games because we want to experience new things, right? We want to experience new realities, new worlds. So if you are an international gamer in somewhere not in Sri Lanka, you want to see Sri Lanka, maybe, probably, if you're interested. But it is something new that you can experience. So that will give our studio a unique perspective, a unique area that we can cover without being common with um, other game development studios. So we finally had a vision, gamifying Sri Lankan culture. And after finding this vision, that is exactly Black Mirage Studios was born. Because we had the name before, we had the logo before, but we didn't really know what we was going to do. And now, again, I'm mentioning we because this is the point where I became we. I found friends who is really interested in this idea to make games out of Sri Lankan culture. So I met friends, I met friends of those friends, and finally we had a team out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting to make a team out of this company. I was just going to make a demo myself, not a very high quality one, and going to pitch them to investors. and suddenly we had people who is believing in this vision. Now, after the team, it has been a different kind of challenge, because now every one of us was individually doing crazy things. We were making crazy stuff, we were programming crazy stuff, but we haven't worked as a company before, as a team before. So we had to relearn everything, and we had to make systems, we had to make proper organizational methods, because we weren't some teenagers making stuff anymore. We were a company, we were a studio. Now, not just the managing and working as a team was the issue. The other biggest issue was we didn't had proper resources. Like we didn't have this workstation before, so we were developing the demo with the laptop, and it was a mess. So we tried our best, we came up with a prototype, and we showed few investors, we pitched the idea. That is a whole another story, and I'm going to save that story for a later video. But right now, what is important is we were so lucky to find one investor who believed in our vision and who saw our demo. He invested a huge amount for this PC, and we built this workstation, and we was able to update our demo to another new level. So we are right now working on it, and it's almost like 70% done. Again, we will be talking more and more about this demo and how we work, what kind of technical things we use, and all those stuff in upcoming videos. But yeah, like I said, it's been a huge journey. It's been there has been so many ups and downs, but we are still here, still developing the game, me and my whole team. And the demo is going to be a horror FPS game, the first Sri Lankan horror game. Now, if you remember, the main reason I wanted to tell you guys about the my gaming background, Resident Evil 4 especially, because you will see where my inspirations are coming from. Resident Evil 4 is a FPS horror game, and still love it, still replay it, the remake and the original. So we are making a game that will represent the Sri Lankan culture, our stories, our folktales, and our demons, the stories we tell in Sri Lanka, the horror stories we tell in Sri Lanka. And hopefully it's going to be an awesome scary horror game. We are almost like 60-70% done with the demo. Again, we will be talking more and more about the demo in upcoming videos, but right now I just wanted to share the story of Black Mirage Studios, why we are doing what we are doing, our vision, gamifying Sri Lankan culture, and hope you guys are going to stick around to see our demo and the upcoming videos. You will meet more people of our team, so join with us, guys. We are going to talk everything about our game and more things about game development and the creative industry. So stay tuned for those videos. Thank you for joining, guys. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to join our journey. At the end of the day, we just want to tell you guys a cool story with our game. We just want to make a experience instead of making some crash game with microtransactions. We are not going to do that. We just want to make quality stories, quality games. Stay safe, guys. Thank you. See you in the next one.